Mercy Talks Part 1. The warships had landed 3 weeks ago. Their dark shapes still sat on the fields like giant insects, blocking the sun from the crops that humans had worked so hard to grow. Commander stood at the window of what used to be the colony's main building. He watched the humans below moving through the streets. They carried food. They talked to each other. Some of them even smiled. This was wrong. This was very wrong. Had conquered 11 worlds before this one. He knew what defeated species looked like. They crawled. They begged. They tried to fight and died quickly, or they gave up and stopped eating until death took them. But these humans did neither. They had surrendered on the first day, before could even finish his threats, and now they walked around like nothing had happened. Commander, said his advisor, stepping into the room. The human called Ho is asking to see you again. Turned his large head, his 4 eyes narrowing. What does he want now? He says he wants to discuss terms of coexistence. Coexistence made a sound that was somewhere between a laugh and a growl. We conquered them. There are no terms. We rule, they obey. That is how it works. Scales shifted color slightly, showing his discomfort. I told him this. He smiled and said he would wait for your answer. That smile had seen it many times in the past 3 weeks. It was not the smile of a fool who did not understand his situation. It was something else, something that made his stomach feel strange. Across the colony, in a small building that now served as a hospital, Hana wrapped clean cloth around a wound. The wound was not on a human. It was on a soldier named, who had cut his arm on broken metal while searching buildings for weapons. Watched her with all 4 of his eyes. His scales were pale with confusion and something that might have been fear. Why are you helping me? He asked. Hana did not look up from her work. Because you are hurt. I am your enemy. My people killed yours. Yes, Hana said simply. And now you are hurt and I am a healer. I heal people who are hurt. That is what I do. Was quiet for a long moment. In his 30 years of military service, no conquered species had ever touched him except to attack. He did not know what to do with this small human woman who treated his wound with gentle hands. You are strange, he finally said. Hana smiled, and it was the same smile that troubled Commander. We hear that a lot. In the center of the colony, Ho sat in what remained of his office. The walls had holes in them from weapons fire and the ceiling leaked when it rained. But his desk was clean and his papers were organized. He had been the colony's administrator before the invasion. He supposed he still was in a way. The humans still came to him with their problems. They did not seem to care what he did, as long as he did not cause trouble. A young woman knocked on the door frame. Her name was Bo Young, and she had been the colony's lead agricultural scientist. Now she was just trying to keep people fed. The eastern fields, she said, sitting down across from him. The trampled half of them with their ships. If we do not replant within 2 weeks, we will not have enough food for winter. Ho nodded slowly, and I assume they do not know this. They do not seem to care about farming. They brought their own food supplies. I think they expect us to figure it out ourselves. Or die trying, Ho said quietly. He looked at his hands thinking, this could be useful. Bo Young frowned. Useful? How is starving useful? Not the starving, the knowledge. We know how to grow food here. They do not. They conquered this world because it produces food, but without us the food does not grow. Without us they have gained nothing but empty land. Understanding dawned in Bo Young's eyes. You want to negotiate. I want to survive, Ho corrected. And I want our people to survive. If that means teaching them that we are more valuable alive than dead, then yes, I will negotiate. That evening, Commander finally agreed to meet with the human leader. He did not know why he agreed. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the strangeness that hung over this entire conquest like morning fog. They met in the damaged civic center under a roof that had more holes than solid sections. Brought 10 soldiers with him. Ho came alone. You wanted to speak, said, not sitting down. Speak. Ho bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect that had not expected. Thank you for meeting with me, Commander. I know your time is valuable. It is, agreed. Do not waste it. I will not. Ho took a breath. Commander, I want to discuss how we can live together on this world. Scales darkened with anger. There is nothing to discuss. We have conquered you. You will do as we say. Yes, Ho said calmly. We will. That is not what I am asking about. I am asking about how we can help you succeed. This stopped completely. In 11 conquests, no one had ever offered to help him succeed. They had only offered threats or prayers or silence. Explain, demanded. Your empire conquered this world because it produces food, but our crops require special knowledge to grow, special techniques. If your soldiers try to farm these fields, they will fail. The food will die, and you will have spent ships and soldiers to gain nothing but dirt. Said nothing. He was listening now, really listening. We are not asking for freedom, Ho continued. We are asking for fair treatment. Let us work. Let us live. Treat our people with basic dignity, and we will help you harvest more food than you dreamed possible. That is our offer. For a long moment, silence filled the broken building. Outside, the wind blew through the trampled fields. You are strange creatures, finally said, echoing his soldiers' words from earlier that day. Ho smiled that strange, calm smile. We know, but we are also useful. And right now, Commander, we are the most cooperative conquered species you have ever met. The question is, what will you do with that? Had no answer. For the first time in his long career, he had no answer at all. That night he sent a message to his superiors. It said only, humans are behaving strangely, requesting guidance. He did not know that this was the beginning of something that would change everything. Mercy Talks Part 2. 1 week after the first meeting, Commander agreed to a second one. He did not tell anyone why. He was not sure himself. Perhaps it was the message from his superiors which had simply said, observe and report. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the way his wounded soldier now asked about the human healer every morning. The meeting took place in the same broken civic center. This time, Ho brought 2 people with him. One was Bo Young, the agricultural scientist. The other was an older man named who had been a teacher before the invasion. Brought and 5 soldiers. He noticed that the humans did not look at the weapons. They did not flinch or shake. They simply waited, calm as deep water. You wanted to explain your proposal, said, sitting down this time. I am listening. Ho nodded and gestured to Bo Young. This is our lead scientist. She can explain what we grow here and why it matters. Bo Young stepped forward. She was shorter than smallest soldier, but she spoke with a voice that did not shake. Commander, this planet has unique soil. The crops we grow here cannot grow anywhere else in this sector. That is why your empire wanted it. Scales shifted. This was true. The empire needed food for its armies, and Cora 4 produced grains that could feed soldiers for months without spoiling. But these crops are difficult, Bo Young continued. They need specific water amounts, specific temperatures, specific timing for planting and harvest. We have spent 20 years learning how to grow them properly. Without that knowledge, the fields will produce nothing. Leaned toward, she could be lying. We could learn these things ourselves. You could try, Bo Young said, not rudely. But it would take years. And your soldiers do not know how to farm. They know how to fight. By the time you learned our methods, the soil would be ruined and your investment lost. Considered this. He had seen the reports. The crops on this world were worth more than the ships he had used to conquer it. If the humans were telling the truth, destroying them would be expensive. What do you want in return? He asked. Ho spoke again. Safety for our families, enough food for ourselves, the right to live in our homes, medical care when we are sick. These are small things to you, but they mean everything to us. You are asking for comfort while under occupation. We are asking for survival. Comfort would be freedom. We are not asking for that. We know we cannot have it. This honesty surprised. Conquered species usually promised loyalty they did not mean, or threatened revenge they could not deliver. This human admitted his weakness openly. It was almost refreshing. "And if we refuse?" asked. Ho did not hesitate. "Then we will still obey you. We will still try to survive, but we will not help you more than we must. We will not share our knowledge freely. We will do only what is required to avoid punishment and nothing more. Your harvest will be smaller. Your soldiers will spend more time watching us and less time doing other work. You will gain a conquered world that drains your resources instead of adding to them." His claws tapped against the table. He understood what Ho was saying. The human was not threatening rebellion. He was threatening something smaller but perhaps more dangerous, the loss of cooperation. In the Empire, conquered species were forced to work through fear, but fear required soldiers to enforce it, soldiers who could be fighting elsewhere, soldiers who ate food instead of producing it. Cooperation, freely given, would require none of that. "You are negotiating," said slowly, "as if you still have power." Ho smiled slightly. "We do have power, Commander. It is just not the kind you are used to seeing. We cannot hurt you, but we can choose how much we help you. That choice is power." Scales flared with anger. "This is manipulation. They are trying to control us through words." "Is it manipulation?" spoke for the first time. His voice was gentle, like he was explaining something to a child. "Or is it simply the truth? We cannot lie to you. You have our homes. You have our weapons. All we have left is our knowledge and our willingness to share it. We are offering both. How is that manipulation?" Raised a claw to silence. The advisor fell quiet, though his scales still showed his anger. "I need time," said finally. "I must speak with my superiors." "Of course," Ho said, "we will wait." After the humans left, turned to with open frustration. "Commander, you cannot seriously consider this. If word spreads that we bargained with conquered prey, we will be seen as weak. If word spreads that we lost this world's resources because we were too proud to listen, we will be seen as fools," replied. "I have conquered 11 worlds. Do you know what every single one of them cost to maintain?" Was quiet. "Soldiers," continued, "weapons, ships, food. Every conquered world becomes a mouth that eats resources instead of providing them. The empire grows larger but not stronger. We spread ourselves thin across 100 worlds, all of them waiting for a chance to rebel." He looked toward the door where the humans had left. "These creatures offer something different. They offer to feed us instead of draining us. I want to understand why." That night walked through the human settlement without his soldiers. He did not announce himself. He simply watched. He saw humans cooking food over small fires, sharing with neighbors who had less. He saw children playing games in the streets, their laughter cutting through the evening air. He saw Hana, the healer, teaching a group of young humans how to clean wounds and set broken bones. No one ran from him. No one screamed or hid. They looked at him with careful eyes, but not with terror. A few even nodded in greeting, as if he was simply another person walking down the street. Had never felt so strange in his entire life. He had conquered this world. These people should hate him. They should fear him. Instead, they treated him like weather, like something that had happened, something they had to live with, but not something that defined their entire existence. He returned to his quarters that night with a new thought forming in his mind. It was uncomfortable and unfamiliar, like wearing armor that did not fit. These humans were not broken. They were not defeated. They had simply decided that survival mattered more than pride, and cooperation cost less than war. They had looked at their situation and made a logical choice. And somehow, that scared more than any weapon ever had. Mercy Talks Part 3. 2 months had passed since the conquest. The fields were growing again. The humans worked them every day, teaching observers how the crops needed to be watered and when the soil needed to rest. Commander had agreed to Ho's basic terms: safety, food, shelter, medical care. In return, the humans cooperated fully. It was working better than had expected. The harvest projections were high. His soldiers had little to do except watch. Some of them had even started helping with small tasks, more out of boredom than duty. Then Lieutenant arrived. Was sent by the high command to inspect the occupation. He was tall with dark scales and eyes that never seemed to warm. He had earned his position through brutality, crushing rebellions on 3 different worlds. He believed that fear was the only language conquered species understood. Within 1 day of his arrival, he found problems everywhere. These humans walk too freely, he told in the command center. They show no respect. They do not bow when soldiers pass. Some of them even look us in the eyes. This is unacceptable. Kept his voice calm. They are productive. The harvest is ahead of schedule. Is that not the goal? Scales darkened. The goal is control. Without control, productivity means nothing. Today they grow food for us. Tomorrow they grow courage for themselves. They have no weapons, no ships. They cannot harm us. All conquered species say this at first. Leaned forward. I have seen rebellions, Commander. They start with small things, a look that lasts too long, a smile that hides hatred. These humans are planning something. I can feel it. Thought of Ho's calm honesty. He thought of Hana treating wounded soldiers. He thought of children laughing in the streets. He did not see rebellion, but he knew would not listen. What do you propose? Asked carefully. An example, something to remind them of their place. The example came the next morning. 3 humans were caught leaving the work zone without permission. They were young men from the eastern farms who had gone to visit family in the western settlement. It was a small rule, broken for a simple reason. Executed them in the central square. He made everyone watch. The gunshots echoed off the damaged buildings. Then silence fell, heavy and complete. Watched the faces of the humans in the crowd. He expected fear. He expected submission. He saw something else. Something that made his scales turn cold. The humans did not scream. They did not cry, at least not loudly. They simply looked at the bodies of their neighbors, then at each other, and in those looks saw a door closing. He saw walls going up. He saw the cooperation that had been freely given being quietly taken back. By afternoon, the changes had begun. The farmers still worked, but they worked slowly. The exact speed required by the rules and not 1 step faster. The observers who had been teaching about the crops suddenly forgot things, important things. Sorry, I am not sure how much water this section needs. Perhaps you should ask someone else. Hana closed her medical station to soldiers. When demanded to know why, she looked at him with empty eyes and said, I am not feeling well. Perhaps tomorrow. There was no rebellion. No violence, no broken rules, just a withdrawal, quiet and complete. The humans had pulled back into themselves, offering nothing that was not demanded, giving nothing that was not forced. Was pleased. You see, now they know their place. Fear works. Said nothing. He was watching the production reports. They had dropped by 30% in a single day. 3 days later, he found Sung sitting alone near the edge of the settlement. Sung was a young farmer whose parents had died during the initial invasion. Had seen him working in the fields, always quiet, always watching. You lost family, said, sitting down nearby, in the first attack. Sung did not look at him. Yes. Do you hate us? A long pause. Yes. Appreciated the honesty. Then why did you not fight? Your people surrendered quickly, too quickly. Sung finally turned to look at the commander. His eyes were tired but clear. Because fighting would have killed more of us, and dying for pride does not bring back the dead. But now you have stopped cooperating. The production has fallen. This example did not work. It worked perfectly, Sung said quietly. It showed us exactly what kind of people you are. Before, some of us believed we could build something together, that maybe if we worked hard and caused no trouble you would see us as partners. Now we know the truth. We are just tools to you, tools that can be thrown away when they become inconvenient. It was decision, not mine. But you allowed it. You are the commander. If you cannot control your own people, what good are your promises? The words stung because they were true, had allowed to act. He had not stopped the executions. He had watched and said nothing. What would it take, asked slowly, to repair this? Sung laughed, but there was no joy in it. You are asking me. My parents are dead. My neighbors are dead. And you want me to tell you how to make us trust you again? Yes. Sung stared at him for a long moment. Then he shook his head. You cannot force trust. It has to be given. And it can only be given to those who deserve it. Right now, Commander, you do not deserve it, but, he hesitated. You are asking. That is more than would do. That evening made a decision. He sent a message to High Command requesting reassignment. The reason he gave was simple. His methods are damaging productivity beyond acceptable levels. It took 3 days for the order to come through. Left on the 4th day, angry and promising to report's weakness. Did not care. On the 5th day, he went to see Ho. The one who killed your people is gone, said. I sent him away. Ho sat behind his damaged desk, his face unreadable. That does not bring them back. No, it does not. Paused. But I am asking how to move forward. I am asking what I must do to rebuild what was broken. Ho studied him for a long time. Then slowly he nodded. You are learning, Commander, slowly but learning. He stood and walked to the window looking out at the fields. You cannot force trust, but you can earn it. Start by asking your soldiers to learn our names. Stop calling us the humans and start calling us by who we are. Small things build big changes. It was not much, but it was a beginning. And somewhere in the settlement, Hana quietly reopened her medical station. Mercy Talks Part 4. 4 months after the conquest, a ship arrived from the Empire's central worlds. It was larger than any ship commanded, and it carried High Commander, one of the most powerful officers in the military. Met him at the landing zone, standing straight and showing no fear. Inside, his stomach was tight with worry. Had destroyed entire worlds for less than what was happening on Korra 4. Commander said, stepping down from his ship. His scales were almost black with age and power. I have heard strange reports about this occupation. I came to see for myself. Of course, High Commander, I will show you everything. They walked through the settlement together. Said nothing at first, but his 4 eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail. He saw humans working in the fields alongside observers. He saw children playing near soldiers who had stopped to watch them. He saw a supply officer sharing a meal with a human farmer, both of them sitting on the same bench. What is this? Finally asked, his voice sharp. Cooperation, said carefully. The humans work with us instead of against us. Production is higher than any other conquered world in this sector. I can see that. What I want to know is how. What did you threaten them with? What punishments do you use? Hesitated. Very few, High Commander. We found that threats reduced productivity. The humans respond better to fair treatment than to fear. Scales flickered with disbelief. Fair treatment. You treat conquered prey with fairness. They are more useful this way. They walked in silence until they reached the school. It had been rebuilt with permission from, and now one taught classes there every day. But she did not only teach human children. 3 young sat in her classroom, learning to read human writing. Stopped at the window, watching. One was showing the young how to draw human letters, guiding their clawed hands with patience. One of them made a mistake, and she smiled at him. She did not hit him or yell. She simply showed him the correct way and praised him when he got it right. Why are your soldiers children in a human school? Demanded. Some of our soldiers brought families, explained. There was no school here. One offered to teach them. I saw no harm in it. No harm turned to face him fully. You are letting humans shape the minds of youth, teaching them to read human words, to understand human thinking. Do you not see the danger? I see children learning, High Commander, nothing more. Made a sound of disgust and walked away from the window. They continued through the settlement until they reached the command center. There, demanded to see all reports, all records, all data from the occupation. For 3 hours he read in silence, waited, standing still, watching scales shift with each new piece of information. Finally looked up. Your production numbers are real. Your casualty numbers are almost zero. You have achieved more with 200 soldiers than most commanders achieve with 2,000. His eyes narrowed. How? Took a breath. This was the question he had been preparing for. The humans offered us something no other conquered species has ever offered: willing cooperation. They surrendered before we could destroy them. They asked for fair treatment instead of begging for mercy. And when we gave them basic dignity, they gave us everything we needed. Dignity, repeated the word like it tasted strange. You gave dignity to conquered prey. Yes. And when you had a problem with Lieutenant, when he executed those 3 humans, what happened then? Felt the weight of the question. The cooperation stopped. Production fell by 30% in one day. The humans did not rebel. They simply stopped helping. They everything that was not forced from them. And you sent away. Yes. Was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked a question that surprised. What word do the humans use for what they gave you? Thought about his many conversations with Ho. They call it forgiveness. They say it means letting go of anger towards someone who has wronged you, choosing not to take revenge even when you could. We have no word for this. I know, the closest we have is delayed vengeance or weakness. Stood and walked to the window, looking out at the settlement. I have conquered 37 worlds. Every single one of them hates us. Every single one of them waits for the moment when they can hurt us. We spend more resources keeping them under control than we gain from their production. The empire grows, but it grows weak from the inside. He turned back to, you are telling me that these humans have found another way. They found a way that benefits both sides. They lose their freedom, but they keep their lives and their dignity. We lose the fear that makes other species obey, but we gain something more valuable: real cooperation. And this forgiveness, they truly forgave you for conquering them, for killing their people. Remembered his conversation with Sung. No, they have not forgiven us, but they have chosen to work with us anyway. They carry their anger, but they do not let it control them. They look at what they can build instead of what they have lost. At that moment, Ho appeared at the door. He had been asked to come to answer any questions the High Commander might have. He bowed his head slightly in respect. Studied him like a scientist studying a strange new creature. You are the one who negotiated with, the one who offered cooperation instead of resistance. Yes, High Commander. Why? Your people were conquered, your neighbors were killed. Why did you not fight? Ho met's eyes without fear. Because fighting would have destroyed us and hatred would have poisoned us. We chose to survive. We chose to believe that even our enemies could change. Perhaps that is foolish, but we have survived 4 months now, and your commander has begun to understand us. That is more than fighting would have given us. You believe we can change? Ho smiled just slightly. I believe everyone can change, High Commander. Even, the question is whether you will choose to. Was silent for a very long time. Then he turned to, I am leaving tomorrow. I will report to the council that this occupation is unusual but effective, very effective. He paused at the door. Continue what you are doing, Commander, and tell no one what I said here. After he left, Ho let out a breath he had been holding. That was the most powerful officer in your empire. Yes. And you showed him humans and eating together, children learning in the same classroom, cooperation instead of control. Nodded slowly. I showed him the truth. Ho looked at him with something new in his eyes. Not trust, exactly, but perhaps the beginning of respect. You are a strange commander. Thought about it and realized he did not mind the description. Perhaps, but I am also effective. Outside, one was teaching her young students a new word. The word was mercy. She explained it carefully, showing them how to write it, helping them understand its meaning. One of the young looked up at her with confusion in all four eyes. But why would you give mercy to an enemy? One smiled gently, because sometimes mercy is how enemies become friends. The young wrote the word again, slowly and carefully, and for the first time in history the concept had a name. Mercy Talks Part 5. 1 year after the conquest, the Council of Conquerors met in the Great Hall of the 20 of the most powerful officers in the empire sat around a table carved from the bones of their enemies. Above them, flags from 100 conquered worlds hung like trophies. High Commander stood before them, with a report that had kept him awake for many nights. The human situation has become a problem, said Council Leader, his ancient scales almost white with age. 3 more conquered species have heard about Cora-4. They are demanding what they call human-style terms. This cannot be allowed. Perhaps, said carefully, we should listen to what they are asking for. Silence fell over the council. Eyes narrowed. You suggest we negotiate with prey. I suggest we consider the alternative. Activated a display showing maps and numbers. Our empire controls 112 worlds. Of those, 94 require constant military presence to prevent rebellion. We spend more soldiers guarding our conquests than we gain from them. We grow larger, but we grow weaker. This has always been the cost of empire. Yes, but it does not have to be. Change the display to show Cora-4. This world requires 200 soldiers. It produces more food than any other colony in this sector. There has been no rebellion, no sabotage, no assassination attempts. The humans work alongside our people willingly. Council member, an old warrior with scars across his scales, leaned forward. You are saying we should treat conquered species with kindness. This is weakness. Is it weakness to gain more with fewer soldiers? Is it weakness to have conquered peoples who help us instead of waiting to destroy us? Shook his head. I have seen this world with my own eyes. What is happening there is not weakness. It is something else entirely. Then what is it? Demanded. Thought for a moment. Change. Far away, on Cora-4, Commander received a message summoning him to testify before the council. He read it 3 times before believing it was real. They want you to explain what we have done here, Ho said when told him. This is either very good or very bad. I know. Looked out the window at the settlement that had become something he never expected, a home. If I fail, they may decide to destroy everything we have built. They may send new commanders, ones like. Then you must not fail. Turn to face the human who had become something close to a friend over the past year. I need your help. Will you speak to the council? Will you explain why your people chose cooperation instead of war? Ho was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. I will. Not for you, Commander, for my people, so that what we have built here might survive and perhaps spread to other worlds. The council session was held 3 weeks later, stood before the most powerful in the empire and spoke plainly about what he had learned. He spoke about the harvest numbers, the low costs, the absence of rebellion. He spoke about Hana healing wounded soldiers, about one teaching children, about farmers and soldiers sharing meals together. Some council members listened with interest, others with anger, called him a traitor to his species, said nothing, watching with ancient eyes that revealed nothing. Then it was Ho's turn. His face appeared on the great display, speaking from Cora-4 through a long-distance connection. He looked small against the massive council hall, but his voice did not shake. Honored council members, he began, I speak to you not as a conquered person begging for mercy. I speak to you as someone who has chosen to build instead of destroy. You were conquered, said coldly. You had no choice. We had many choices, council leader. We could have fought and died. We could have surrendered and given up hope. We could have planned secret rebellion and waited for a chance to kill your people. Instead, we chose something else. We chose to survive. We chose to cooperate. We chose to believe that our enemies could become something better. And why should we believe you are not simply waiting for a chance to betray us? Ho smiled sadly. Because betrayal would destroy us. Your empire is vast and powerful. Even if we somehow defeated Commander, your ships would burn our world to ash. We know this. We have always known this. Our cooperation is not a trick. It is the only path that leads to life instead of death. But you hate us, said. You must hate us for what we have done. Some of us do hate you, Ho admitted. My friend Sung lost his parents in your invasion. He hates you. But he also chooses to work beside your soldiers every day. He chooses to teach them about our crops and our customs. He carries his hatred, but he does not let it control him. That is what humans do. We feel everything, but we choose our actions. Leaned forward. And this thing you call forgiveness, this letting go of revenge, what is the purpose of it? The purpose is freedom, Ho said simply. When you carry hatred, it weighs you down. It fills your thoughts. It controls your actions. Forgiveness is not saying that what happened was acceptable. It is saying that you refuse to be a prisoner of the past. You choose to look forward instead of back. The council debated for 3 days, was not allowed to hear the discussions. He waited in a small room, watching news reports, trying to read the future in the faces of council members who passed in the hallways. On the 4th day, summoned him. The council has reached a decision, the ancient leader said. His voice was tired but firm. We will not destroy what you have built on Korra 4, nor will we spread your methods to every conquered world. Not yet. Felt relief and disappointment at the same time. Then what will you do? We will establish formal relations with the human settlement, not as masters and slaves, but as, struggled with the word, partners. This has never been done before in our history. You will be responsible for making it work. And if it succeeds? His ancient eyes held something had never seen in them before. It might have been hope. Then perhaps the empire can learn to grow stronger instead of just larger. Perhaps we can build something that does not require endless war to maintain. He paused. The humans have shown us a path we never knew existed. Now we must decide if we have the courage to walk it. Returned to Korra 4 with the news. He found Ho in the central square, watching Hana teach a group of young about human medicine. Nearby, Sung was showing a farmer how to test the soil for nutrients. Children of both species played together near the fountain that humans had rebuilt from the ruins of the invasion. The council has agreed to formal partnership, said. We are no longer conquerors and conquered. We are something new. Ho watched the scene before him for a long moment, human and working side by side, learning from each other, building together. We never stopped fighting, Commander, he said quietly. We just chose different weapons, patience instead of violence, kindness instead of hatred, the belief that even our enemies could become better. He turned to face, and his eyes were bright with something that might have been tears. It took a year, but those weapons worked. They changed you. They changed your council. They may yet change your entire empire. Looked at the settlement that had become a bridge between two species. He thought about the journey that had brought them here, the fear and the anger, the deaths and the forgiveness, the slow, painful building of trust. What happens now? He asked. Ho smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. Now we show the galaxy what is possible. We prove that there is another way, and we hope that others are brave enough to follow. Nearby, a young child approached Hana with a small injury on his hand. She cleaned it gently and wrapped it with care, speaking soft words of comfort. The child looked up at her with wonder in all 4 of his eyes. What is the human word for this feeling? He asked. When someone helps you even though they do not have to. Hannah thought about it. We have many words: kindness, compassion, mercy. She smiled at him. But the best word might be the simplest one: love. The child repeated the word carefully, testing its sound. Then he smiled back at her, a small smile that was learning new shapes. And somewhere in the galaxy, an empire began to change.